Bulabunaka Fiji, and welcome to Speak Your Mind. Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and this evening we welcome onto the show, he's known as the Prince of Wunde. Now, we know who the king and queen is, but how do you know who the Prince of Wunde is? Well, lately he's been appearing a lot on FBC TV and also on our radio talkback shows. Well, welcome. Sabuto Bakandewabosa.
Bulabunaka Peveli.
Now, the Prince of Wunde, how did you get that title?
Well, that was actually given and dubbed by My Life magazine when they had me do their cover back in 2000 and I think it was 2011, and I think it's just because of the songs that I came out with, all the Wunde, upbeat techno songs that I released earlier on, and with that and with all the Wunde music that I got involved with. They actually dubbed me with that, and I was overwhelmed. I'm great, but I still I'm not used to that.
Not used to that title
Yeah,
just
not
yet.
used
Yeah,
to that title.
not very comfortable with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get? Well, first of all, you've got a brand new album out,
Yes.
and it's called EP, right?
It's an EP.
It's an EP.
It's an EP album.
What's your album called?
It's titled Rosada Rimba, and it's my EP album. Basically, it's a collection of all the singles that I've released earlier in the previous years, with an addition of 2 new tracks. So making it it's an extended playlist in the lead up to my debut album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Rasa Rimba has a little bit of history to it because Laisa Vulakoro
Yes.
actually features, and it was a Laisa Vulakoro song.
It's an original composition from Liza, and it was actually a title of one of her albums. And it was a song that she wrote that I really loved, and we decided to do a collaboration. There's a funny thing behind this. No one actually knows this, but it was supposed to be, the original idea behind this was supposed to be me, Liza, and Georgina Lendua. And we were all planned, and we had meetings, and we were just about to go into recording the song, and she was busy with something else, so it was just me and Liza.
Just you and Liza.
Yeah, but it was all good, and we were very, very happy about the outcome and how we're still working out how we did the video and all the things that came with it. Yeah.
Liza's been pretty supportive with you, the development of your career.
Oh yeah, definitely from the beginning. I mean, she's been my mentor and a great role model, not only to me but all the young artists that are coming up. And I think it was. It was so. I'm very grateful and thankful to her to have someone like that of her caliber be so supportive of all upcoming singers, upcoming artists. Yeah.
Now, it's been a very nurturing environment for young singers and artists as like yourselves, along with fellow artists that also help out with your album.
Yes.
I mean, in other releases from your previous singles, there was this Giving Life single that we
Yes.
also had heard from you, and you also collaborated with other singers. Now, how much of a development since your beginning in the local music industry? How much support do you receive from each other? Will you support each other along with the older artists?
Yes, I think that's something that I've learned, that it's important to collaborate with all these wonderful and super talented artists and producers, and it's been great. That's something that has helped us along the way. The collaboration, the assistance, and just going in and helping out another artist, whether it be backing up for a track that they're recording, or backing up a new track, or helping them write, or just putting together a show, and the assistance from, or the help from the older artists. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but the artists that were here before us, it has been great. They've been very supportive, and I think we're just very lucky and blessed to have that support. Yeah.
Now let's. I'm jumping back and forth here. Now I'm just going to let's start right from the beginning with you. Now, what was your first release?
My first single.
Your first single.
I started out more in terms of music. My first start was writing and writing songs for other artists. So I wrote and composed a song for this this movement from the Ministry of Education, Fiji Stars, which was the movement on Fiji students stand against HIV and AIDS,
Okay.
and they asked me to write a song on HIV and AIDS.
HIV.
So I wrote a song titled "Bridge of Hope," and they had various artists featured in it, and I was just a writer. So that was actually one of the first releases that I did before I did my own. Actually, went in and recorded my own song.
Now, how hard or how easy was it for you to get started with the music industry? Yeah.
When I first started, I didn't know anyone in the music industry, and at that time there was no. We didn't have the platforms that we have today with the shows that they have, the music talent competitions that they. So at that time, I had to catch the early morning bus we lived in Nosori, and I had to come down, and I didn't know anyone at the FBC station or at the other station. So it was just me trying to get with my CD, trying to find someone who would play my
Your song.
Yeah, and it was so funny. But looking back, I was very grateful for that journey, having to try and get my music out there by myself. And but I was also happy that I got to get some help from some of my cousins who knew some people in the radio industry. Yeah, so I was able to finally get my song out there. So it was like that was my start, trying to get my music out there and trying to meet people along the way, doing a lot of free gigs, doing a lot of things just to get myself out there. I think it was on the FBC stage was when I first
When you
performed.
first started. We'll talk more about
Yeah.
this and also now on how important and what else you can learn with especially those who are perhaps thinking of pursuing a music career here in Fiji. More with Savuto Bakandewa right here on Gold FM. Speak Your Mind. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and we continue our conversation, this evening with Savuto Bakandewa. Now, Savuto, Rasa the Rimba. It is this is a lead up to your your debut album, right? Now, you've already started writing or preparing material for your next album, for this album, right? Now, this is a single.
Yes,
And-
no, this is actually an album.
It's an action album.
It's a collection of 9 tracks with a bonus track, so 10 tracks.
10 tracks.
Yeah. So it's an EP album, and I'd like people actually having a couple of discussions, a couple of debate with some other artists and friends of mine. But I'd like to think of it as a lead up to my main debut album. But it is an album.
It is an album,
is an
but
album.
a lead up. Wow. Okay. Now, for the uninitiated, what do you mean by EP album? Just to explain.
EP album. Well, a lot of artists, I think, abroad have EP albums, and it's like I said, it's a collection of all the hit singles that I've released earlier on, with the inclusion of some new stuff that I have recorded, just to give people a feel of what to expect in the upcoming album.
Now, Rasa the Rimba, as we mentioned earlier, was Laisa Bulokoro's
Yes.
song, and it was also the title of one of her albums,
One of the first-
and was written by Laisa
Yes,
Bulokoro.
written and composed by her.
Written and composed by her. Now, in this particular, you've given it a spin,
Yes.
your own touch of what your interpretation of it, as you do with most of your songs. And now, how much input did Lisa put in for that?
Well, I had she was part of the process from the very beginning, and like all the other songs some of the other songs that I've done, I've always had her input and seek her advice on what she thought. So she was pretty much involved in the whole process, having her being featured in it. So she had to be there, and it was fun, and it was a really fun time to actually produce that track. We went in. I think it took us. I think 2 nights. I think it was 2 nights. And we stayed late. We finished, and on the second night we finished around 3 a.m. because we were doing we finished around 3 a.m. because we were recording two versions, one with the voodoo
Uh-huh.
and one without the voodoo.
Now tell us, how do you record your songs? Is it with live instruments, or do you record the instruments separately and then put them in the tracks?
Usually the producer comes in and records and lays down a skeleton
Okay.
of the song, and then we come in, we record our vocals, and then they do the final laying down of all, or final mixing of all
Mixing
the
of
other
all.
instruments that they want to put in, and then we have a hear. Then if we're okay with it, then they master the track.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it takes 2 whole nights to just record vocals.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
one song.
For one song.
Now, how long did it take for the rest of the songs?
Some of the songs was really fast. Some of the songs just took us like a night or a day to record. It actually depends on what like how you're feeling and what all you're doing. In for instance, for the Saturday, it was just for a lot of times we're just sitting, relaxing, having a talanoa session. Yeah, but it actually depends on the artist.
Okay. Now, speaking of which, there's a lot of, so you're talking of artists and how difficult it is now as a local artist with the availability of the internet and copyright laws, especially with those who produce original material like yourself.
Yeah.
How do you find it, how do you meet how people are just illegally downloading and not actually, sometimes not buying your songs?
Yeah, well, that's something that I think we're all dealing with now. It's something that we're trying to find a way to overcome that problem in terms of piracy, and it's a it's an everyday battle for recording artists like myself to try and find a solution to all of that. And all we can do now is just raise awareness and try to campaign on telling people to also to support us. Of course, they're supporting our music by
Actually buying.
actually buying the CDs, and actually just buying instead of burning it or downloading it off the net, and getting it the easy way where they could just fully support our music by just actually buying the
Well,
album.
you're holding on to it, so let's just show it right to the camera, just so that people know. Right, that's the album. Hold it right up on the camera, and now this is how there's a lot of work too in terms of preparing what your look will be on the album.
Yes, definitely. This took us. To be honest, we had this photo shoot. I think 2 years ago. We actually did this, and we had a great photographer, Queenie Wakaloloma. She was the one who, I think she was with
Yes, she
ABC
was.
before. I was very grateful for her. She took time to shoot this cover, and we were actually trying to package it in a really. We're trying to package it in a very, very nice way to actually have a good product out there. So we had that, and we got the help. We got the assistance from FNU and Quality Print and Lysa to actually get this the way we wanted it to be. We just didn't want to release
Just any
kind of product or any kind of album out there, but we wanted to package it in a very presentable manner. So I'm very happy that we were able to get it.
I noticed that they've got the White Ribbon campaign. You're also in support of the Safe Motherhood Initiative
Yes.
on the album.
Uh,
We'll talk a little bit more about the types of support that you give towards these projects. And you also mentioned a lot of the FNU's involvement. And we'll talk a little bit about projects that you're also doing now. And what would you give, an advice that you'd give to those who are thinking, young people, like yourselves, or perhaps younger, thinking of starting off on the music industry?
For me, my advice would be just to believe in yourself, have faith, and if you're determined about something, and if you're passionate enough about it, you can achieve anything. And don't let anyone tell you any different. No one defines you but yourself. It's good to take in all the constructive, all the constructive critiques, but at the end of the day, it's you, and just be determined, and don't let anyone.
Don't give up on that dream.
Yes, don't give up on that dream.
All right. We'll take a short break right here on Gold FM Speak Your Mind. We'll be right back with more on Savuto Wakandewabosa. Well, the title that he's not quite comfortable with, and that's The Prince of Wunde, right here on Gold FM Speak Your Mind. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and we continue our conversation with a bright star that continues to burn brighter now in Fiji's music industry, and that's Mr. Savuto Wakandewabosa joining us this afternoon. Now, Savuto, we've talked about your album. I want to take you right back to when you started off in your career, your singing career. What kind of music background did you come from?
Well, I came from a very religious background. My family is very involved in the church. My parents are involved in the ministry. My dad is a pastor, so it all started from our morning devotions to our evening devotions and being involved with the choir. I got to be involved in the Sunday school choir and then our church choir at a very young age. So music had always surrounded. Was part of our lives. It was part of our daily lives. So we got to be involved in music from a very early age. As long as I could remember, we would just be at home with my grandparents, and we'd just be singing hymns, and that was how it started for me. From early devotions and into the choir.
Now, what gave you that little vision or that break, so they say, that you realize that this is something that you want to do with your life?
For me, ever since I was small, I just wanted to be. I was very interested in music, in singing. We had a tape recorder, we had a radio, and I'd record myself I'd listen to the radio, and I try to sing the same song that's on the radio, and I try to harmonize with it. So I'd record myself, and then after that I'll take the tape recorder and I'll play my recording, and then I'll try and harmonize with another tape recorder. So it was
How old were you?
I think I was in class 3.
So roughly 9, 10, 7, 8, 9.
8 years old.
Wow.
So that was how I was always interested in music and anything that had to do with music, whether it was on television or on radio or in the papers. It was something that I was just so passionate and interested in. And my parents got me a keyboard and a guitar when I was small as a gift, because they just saw how I was interested in that, and I take it to school with me. Take it to school when it was close to Christmas time. We were about to have our big holiday, and that was just how it was for me. I was just very, very passionate or very interested in music. Yeah.
Now, that was Christian, gospel music that you got going, and then you've got Wunde that you've developed a career into, or you're trying to shape a career in. And now, what was the jump? How did you make the jump?
Well, I was always interested in anything and everything about music. So even though I was in church, even though I was being part of the choir and all of that good stuff, I was also interested in the Wunde, and I always loved Liza growing up. I've always watching the Vakaluti Vode Awards and listening to her music and with Prosira and SPR. Every time I'd pass their shops, if we were going out family shopping, I'd always make sure that I make a stop at one of those 2 shops just to listen to the latest album that was out there.
Has it always been Wunde music for you?
Yeah, I've always loved Wunde music. I remember being because I grew up in Lautoka, and every time there was a new music out there, if I see it in the papers, I'd ask my parents for us to just go out to town. And when we were in town, I'd make a stop at one of those shops just to see who was the latest artist out there. And at that time, it was Kambulindele Kande, Serserevi, Simon Vatilevu Liza, and all these Ambuli Ratu. And I was just so interested and very intrigued by their music, and I just loved it.
Now, how did your family take it when did you decide, like, this is it, this is the career I want to take?
It was actually when I was in high school. I was in high school in Lelin, I told myself that this is something that I really love, and it's something that I want to do. It's something that I want to pursue,
Mhm.
and and I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't have a plan at that time, but I just told myself that one way or another, I'm gonna get my music out there. I'm gonna do this.
Did you record yourself? And you said that you or came around to radio stations
Yes.
to try and get yourself. Where did you record yourself first? Your initial recording?
My initial recording was done with at Raven Studios
Okay.
with Israel Ngumatua. That was my first recording, and it was great. He was a very nice person to work with. A lot because I didn't have any experience in live performance or anything like that, so I went in without any idea whatsoever of how this worked or how it worked, and he was very helpful, and I was very grateful for that moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what year was it when you first made your first public performance? Do you
It was
remember?
actually fun now sitting here trying to thinking about that. It was back in, I think it was 2007
Uh-huh.
that I made my first public appearance, public performance at the FBC stage, and I think it was where you were emceeing.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it was just a funny thing, and how time
Yes.
has flown by, and yeah, I remember now. That was my first
Now,
performance.
how did you come about? How did you get to that stage? Because there was no talent show.
Yeah.
And how did you come about, like, having to perform?
That was actually through another friend who worked closely with one of my with a cousin of mine, and he got me that
That gig.
that slot, yeah, that gig for me to come and perform a song. So that was how. we
So
went
that's
about
your
that.
very first public
Yeah,
performance?
that was my very first public performance.
Oh. So
Yeah.
from then you've just continued to grow. What would be the most memorable moment for you in your musical career?
Oh wow, I've had some. I mean,
You've had many, I'm sure.
I've had so many moments that I'd like to consider as very memorable, and I'm very grateful for. Meeting some of the people, especially meeting some of the legends that I grew up listening to, like all of like Sir Serevi and Laisa Volokor, and I could never imagine. I never even imagined that I'd get the chance to even work with them,
Mhm.
and that's been great. And meeting people like Pauline Dornavuli, getting the chance to work with them, and then for me, and getting the chance to travel and do all these things with these wonderful, amazing artists has been great. And then for me, one of the great moments was last year when I got the chance to actually sit down and have a meet with Mariah Carey. Actually, got the chance to
Yes.
sit down and
I
meet her.
did see that on your page.
Yeah, and that was for me. That was an amazing moment to actually meet someone of that caliber and actually get the chance to see.
Where did you meet Mariah Carey?
I met her at her last concert last year. She was on tour. She was doing her world tour, so we met at her last show in Brisbane
In Brisbane.
in November. Yeah, we met.
So how did you get to sneak in?
That was a blessing. I got one of my good friends, Lizanne V, who's based in Sydney. She went to school with Mariah's backup singers,
Uh-huh.
and Mariah's backup singers have been with her from the very beginning. Marianne Tatum. So she's good friends with Marianne Tatum and Trey Lorenz. So she told me, "You want to come and watch
Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey?" And I knew that I was just going to watch her. When I got there, she got me backstage passes, and she said, "You're going to meet Mariah after the show." I was like, "Oh my God."
That must have been an exceptional surprise.
Oh, it was too good. It was
All right.
it was a blessing. It was a miracle.
We'll take a short break, but we'll continue with that right after this on Gold FM. Speak Your Mind. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind. And, we continue our conversation with Savuto Wakandewosa, a young man that has continued to pursue his career here in the local music industry. The hardship and, the assistance also that he's received. We've been talking about, his chance meeting with Mariah Carey after a concert last year. Now, how many minutes did you spend with Mariah? Roughly?
Close to 10 minutes.
Close to 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, Mariah being one of the world's greatest vocalists. Now, how did you feel? What was it like?
I was overwhelmed. I I was in awe of her presence, and even getting the chance to even be in her presence, and that her being of that caliber. And she's actually one of my biggest musical
Inspirations,
inspirations,
yeah.
and as a writer, especially because of the
Mhm.
songs and inspirational songs and all that. So when I was there, I was like, I couldn't speak for the first minute. I was just silent, and I was just looking at her. And but she's very real. What you see on the television, and how how you see her every whatever you on her concerts, and how and her interviews. That's just who she is. And she keeps it real, and she's very nice, and very intelligent. Having that conversation with her, she's a very intelligent woman, and very down to earth. And I was just in
Did she
awe.
give you any advice? Did she know that did you tell her that you were a singer too?
I didn't want to tell her much. I just came there, and I was just thanking her for her show, and just giving the time and making time for to meet. And she just started the conversation of how she wanted to come to Fiji, and how she's just and the closest she's been to Fiji was Fiji how she drinks Fiji water, and that's the closest
That's
she's
the
ever been to
closest
Fiji.
most of those Hollywood
Yeah.
stars get.
And I was just amazed by all the things about everything about her, and it was just a great experience. And she was just saying how she wanted to come to Fiji, and she just wanted to. She's heard so much about Fiji,
Uh-huh.
and how she hopes to actually just come visit one of these days. Yeah.
Well, maybe we should get her to come and perform something here.
Definitely. We might be in the
Did you get her number? We're going to need it after this. It's
Yes.
part of you agreeing to come for this interview. Now, let's get a little bit serious now. We went, or you also went right after that with Laisa Wulokoro again to no, was it? No, not PNG, but was it PNG?
We just got back from PNG.
You just
then-
got back from PNG.
then I
You
went
did
to
a
the concert.
short tour in Vanuatu and also in
New Caledonia.
In New Caledonia and the Solomon Islands.
No, it was just we made a stop at Vanuatu. We did a show there. Then we went to New Cal, where we spent 3 days,
Uh-huh.
2 nights and 3 days, and we did a show in two different places, two different islands.
Uh-huh.
One in Lifu, and the other was in New Caledonia.
Now,
Lifu
I was going to talk to you about how difficult it is now with music that we have here in Fiji from overseas, like American artists, English artists, all this pop that we get, and as opposed to how you also try and compete with these artists or these forms of music now as a young Wunde artist. Now, what do you see the Wunde genre? How do you see it in today's audience, a young audience?
Well, so far with all these young artists incorporating this new Wunde music into their music, and recording Wunde songs, I think it's been good that how we've started getting the younger generations, or the youths of today, to be interested again in the music. And we're very grateful to the media, to radio, for allowing or for playing that. For playing the Wunde music more often. It'd be great if we kind of have all the radio play a lot of these homegrown music, and especially Wunde. But it's been good how the reaction and the response from the younger generation has been like here in Fiji. But it'd be what I think what me and some of my fellow artists, fellow friends have done is actually try and incorporate the style of music that these international artists are doing, and try and find a unique way, or just try and find a way to incorporate that kind of music with the Wunde, and try and make it interesting, so they can also it can
Keep
attract,
it popular and
keep
attract.
it popular, and having that pop feel in the Wunde track, so in the Wunde music, and and finding creative ways and innovative ways to actually get the music out, and get the reach Yeah.
How do you feel about those who criticize that approach by saying that it's killing off the traditional Vunde feel? What
Well,
would be your response like to them?
no, uh, well, it is what it is, and you will always have people who will criticize and the critiques, and it's good. It's good that there are people out there who always stop and make you think for a moment
Mhm.
and make you just get you to reflect on some of the things that we've done. So yeah, I think it's good. It's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, but the thing is just to keep going and
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing and just keep reinventing.
Well, yeah, that is
Yeah.
what music is about.
Yes.
It's a continuous evolution,
Mm.
just like us.
Yes, definitely.
Now, it's interesting that, well, we'll talk a little bit more about the interest in Vunde music from our Melanesian brothers and sisters and how popular it still is in their countries. And we'll continue right after this short break. Right here on Gold FM Speak Your Mind, I'm speaking with Sabuto Wakadeobosa. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind. Well, we continue our conversation once again here in studio, still with us, Sabuto Wakadeobosa, the Prince of Vunde. But I got to tell you, it's a title he's not too comfortable with. For those of you just joining us, now we've been talking about your introduction into music from, well, and also the local industry. I posed a question to you just before we went to a break, that how do you feel about the popularity of Vunde music here in the country, in Fiji, and as opposed to those from, well, other Pacific islands?
um, it surprised me how we went to PNG early last year. We were at the Melanesian Arts Festival, and
Right.
it was just amazing how the response was to Fijian music and and Vunde music especially. They just loved it there, and how they appreciate our music was just overwhelming. I mean, in comparison to the reactions that we have here, usually our audience are more reserved, and they just sit and they watch, and functions maybe they'd get up and dance, but for them, for every song, once they hear Fijian song go on, they'll be up jumping, shouting, dancing. And not only that, we went to Vanuatu, it was the same thing. We went to New Caledonia, it was the same thing there. And it was so good to see that. And I think it was late 2013. I was in Korea, and I performed for 2 days. And on one of those days, I just did Vunde straight out, and it was so amazing to see how people, Asians and Europeans, and how everyone from different cultures, and how they just reacted to the Vunde music. They just got on and they started dancing. They just loved it.
I'm going to have to ask you, how did you get to Korea again?
Oh,
It's like from here we are in Port Moresby and Port Villa, and then we're jumping to Korea.
yeah.
Tell us about that. How did you
That was through because I'm also involved. Like I said, my parents are involved in the ministry, and that was through the church and the World Council of Churches, and I went as a steward. And while being there, it was the World Council of Churches Assembly, General
Sure.
Assembly, and they asked me to perform for in one of the days, 2 days.
Mhm.
They asked me if I could perform, and I was very
Interesting
grateful.
how
Yeah.
you then choose to perform
Yeah.
one whole
And I
night.
thought, why not? Why not
Why
perform
not?
Vunde? Yeah. So it was great to see how people from all over the world, and especially here in now other Melanesian countries, how they react and how they just love the Vunde music. It's been overwhelming. I'm just grateful for that.
And it's from the young and from the old.
Yeah, and it just inspires. I think it really inspired me just to get creative with all these with Vunde music and just to do more. So there's more coming, and we've been very we've been working hard in getting a new kind of sound out there. So it's something to expect and look out for.
I mean, other artists like Elena Baravilala,
Yeah.
who's also continuing with something similar on FBC TV on the Rain
The Rain
Project.
Project. Yeah.
You just featured recently on the Rain Project. What do you think? What do you think of these sorts of programs or projects?
Um, Well, these projects, I mean, I think these are great platforms. Like and it's good that we have them now because for some, like for Fiji, we don't have these. We don't have bodies to really look after artists. Like in overseas, they have agents, they have labels, they have talent scouts or people who scout talents. So it's good that we have these platforms to. We create these kind of platforms to have artists and local talents to showcase their talents. So I'm very happy for Elena. And Elena, we were together at the Melanesian Arts Festival. She's an empowering artist. She's an empowering. I look up to her as a role model, and I love being around her presence. She's someone that just inspires everyone, and she's inspired me in many ways.
Now, you speak quite often of your fellow artists and the community of local artists. Is that how strong the support is amongst yourselves?
Yes, I mean for the younger generation, it's been like that, and it's all for us. I think if you can see, we're collaborating more. It's all about collaboration, and we hang out more. We just talk. I think there's a lot of love there, and it's been great, and that's something that has helped us musically, and it's something that has helped our music.
Do you feel like it's a lot more creatively enabling for all these?
Yes, definitely. That's something that has helped us in our art, in perfecting our art. Yeah.
Now, how do you feel? What are the steps that you hope, or the rest of your group hope that will come about this? Like, what sort of interest do you want also generated, and what more do you think we can do?
We're very grateful to the media, especially the mainstream media like FBC and FBC, especially FBC, for allowing homegrown music to be played a lot on your stations. And what we hope is for business houses and companies and funding bodies to actually help support this movement for artists to create platforms or places where we can go to for funding in funding our projects or our musical recordings, in trying to get our albums out, or trying to
quite hard.
It's hard. It is hard. The struggle is real.
Struggle is definitely real.
It's real, and but we're very grateful to those who have supported us, and for people who give us platforms to showcase to showcase our music and our talents.
Now, what's the next step for you? You got a couple of projects lined up?
Yes, this year, like I said, I'm working on my debut album, and we have a lot of. We still actually for this album, a lot of people to thank. Professor Ian Rouse has been a great supporter. Quality Print, Lysa, and SPR, who made all of this EP album possible. So this year we have a lot of other projects. We're doing things with climate change, violence against women, and more songs that address these social issues. So there's a lot of projects like that we'll be working on. And we'll be doing, and I'm trying to put together a production kind of show so I could actually take it around like a tour.
That sounds very interesting.
That I'm hoping to do this year.
Well, unfortunately, time has caught up with us. But thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Pedeli.
And good luck to you. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Rasa the Riba. Go out and get it. All right? Don't download it illegally. And, well, thank you again. And good luck to you. Good luck to Wunde Music and your artistry. Thank you. Well, that wraps up this Speak Your Mind. And we hope that you join us again next week, same time, same place, right here on Gold FM.